Hi, Joe coming at you, RX Healthy Habits. In today's video, I want to talk about something big for all of us, and that is junk food. We all love it. It's all a problem because it's so addicting. So let's go through and talk about that a little bit, because I think if you're on your journey to become, healthy and maintain your weight, and also just to be, eating a lot smarter, junk food doesn't have a very big place in that. But why? This is the question I ask myself. Why, after all these years, it's been 4 years now, and I'm at normal weight, why do I still crave junk food? And there's a lot of reasons for that. First of all, here's the key point. It's not all your fault. It's not just that you lack willpower, which I thought sometimes. And even today, when I go down some of those aisles and I'm tempted, I say, no, that's not a good idea, because if you buy that, end up eating it all. And sometimes you end up eating it in 2 or 3 sessions. So here's the thing. It's not all your fault, because the industry is really good at it. Now, let's not get mad at them, the soda manufacturers and all. Let's not get mad at them. But they are very good at really researching what makes you really enjoy the taste of junk food. But there's also something in there that you got to remember, and that we are hardwired. Our brute nature, our physical nature, our descendants, early cavemen, people way back thousands of years ago, they really were trying to survive. So if they came across some sweets like berries, when they got a chance to get fat in their diet, when they got a chance to get salty, they would really engorge and just, gorge themselves on that, because that was part of their survival. And I think we're kind of hardwired in some of our basic brain centers to say, hey, this tastes good, let's load up on it. So there's 2 things that aren't your fault. One is the fact that the food industry is really good at this, and second off, your brute nature is always going to be seeking to eat those kind of foods. So there's something, though, that I really like in this one article, and it's going to be on our blog by Hope Davis. She's going to be referencing this one article that talks about the bliss point. And the bliss point in food is where they put together a sweet, salty, and fat in such a combination, or in a ratio, in a different food, that's going to make you really crave it. And now, if you eat natural whole foods like an apple, that ratio is not there to make it as addictive. So that's why you usually don't binge out on fruit, unless it's maybe really sweet fruit. Sometimes you do that. But this bliss point is where they get the ratio of the protein carbs in such a way that it creates a reward zone, that it impinges on the zone in your brain that's similar to what that reward zone is there for drugs and alcohol. Things that are very addicting, this reward zone. And it basically comes down to release of dopamine. So dopamine's a neurotransmitter. And the articles in the blog that Hope's going to write, you'll see a little bit more about how these neurotransmitters really do make the case for you to really want these foods, because these receptors, once they're impinged upon by the sugar, when the sugar hits the receptors, you get this burst of pleasure. And that's why they call it the bliss. So read more about it. I don't want to go into details, because as a pharmacist, I can really bore you. I remember when I smoked cigarettes, I couldn't understand why it was so hard to quit them, and I understood when I read more about nicotine, it causes micro bursts of norepinephrine, and that's why you got that little kick from a cigarette. And boy, hardest thing I ever did was trying to quit those. But anyway, the bliss point. So read more about that. And here's the thing about some of the junk food out there. There's so many ingredients that they add. And you've heard of MSG and some of the other things, but there's so many other more things that they can add, ingredients. And usually the more ingredients are in a food, the more apt it can be addicting, especially if they add certain things, garlic powders, salt. There's so many different ingredients. If you look at a bag of some of the chips on the market and you're like, holy mackerel. One cereal out there that people really can't get enough of, like the Cinnamon Crunch cereals, there's 37 different ingredients in that. So you think about that and say, it's really, the more complex they are, the more sometimes they can get you with this, getting into that zone, they call it, the bliss zone. Here's the thing. I'm going to leave with this. Elizabeth's going to do a video next coming up about some way to cope with, when you have junk food cravings, what you can do. And we've done a video on this too. I think we did a video that talks about some of the strategies to prevent you from really overdoing with cravings. When you have cravings, what are some things you can do? So that video is really good. It's in our library. But I would say one of the things that I had to do every day sometimes is I just have to say no. Don't buy it. Don't pick it up off the shelf. Don't buy it, because It's not going to do what you think. You're going to get that initial taste, but then it's going to be over with. So don't buy it. So that's number one. But also, if you don't buy it, then you got to have something, because when you got a craving, you got to find a way to deal with it. And what we tell people is have some really healthy snacks or healthy things. Now, on our program, we have some things that we call snacks or fuelings that keep us. It's 15 grams of carb, 15 grams of protein, 3 grams of fat. So if you think about it, that ratio is not in that bliss zone. But when you eat one of these and you get 100 calories, it takes the edge off and your craving goes away. So I just think you need to think about how can you counter some of these cravings by having something in your arsenal with you or accessible that you can take instead or eat instead. So hope that helps. I'm going to try to link Elizabeth's video at the end of this so you can go right into that and listen to what she's got to say. But don't forget to read the blog that's coming out that Hope Davis wrote for us that talks about all the science. She's going to reference that. It's going to be fantastic. So until next video, stay away from the junk food.